mean, I remember nights when, someone would just bring out a violin and they started playing in the middle of the restaurant, or like, someone would just light up a joint or set off fireworks inside, I mean, it was just like you could do anything you wanted out there. There wasn't social media, so things just happened in the moment.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. The title on Anthony Falco's business card is Global Pizza Consultant. And true to form, Anthony has helped people achieve their dreams of starting pizzerias and perfecting their craft of pizza. In this highly entertaining conversation, Falco shares some of his favorite gigs and talks about his time helping launch and grow the pizza operation at Roberta's, the singular Bushwick pizzeria that inspired the launch of 1,000 Neapolitan pizza shops around the globe. Anthony is the author of Pizza Czar, Recipes and Know-How from the World-Traveling Pizza Chef, and we talk about translating these big ideas to the home kitchen. It's great catching up with Anthony, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. Anthony Falco, welcome to This Is Taste. What is up, man?
Oh, not much. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Dude,
I'm glad our schedules lined up to make it happen.
Well, I mean, listen, you've traveled to Brazil, Colombia, Kuwait, Panama, Canada, Japan, India, Thailand for pizza jobs. And we'll get into your travels. We'll get into Pizza Czar, which I love. We'll get into the time of founding Roberta's or being on the founding team. The broad question, we're at Pizza Week right now, and I really want to ask all the folks this week, but why is pizza such a universal food?
That's a great question, and I've had a lot of time to think about it. And I've worked, as you said, in many countries, like 22 countries right now. One of the things I think that makes it a universal food, or at least global food.
Yeah,
we don't know what's going on in the rest of the universe.
It's true. You're going there. You're going a little. Yeah, I see where this conversation is going to go.
But it really took the whole world to make pizza. You know what I mean? Like, tomatoes come from Mexico. Wheat origins are somewhere in the eastern Turkey near Syrian border. Buffalo mozzarella is actually comes from water buffalo from India. They didn't migrate to Italy until like the 12th or 13th century, something like that. Basil probably originates from Southeast Asia. I'm building a margarita pizza now.
The
only thing that's really native to Italy is olive oil, from the Mediterranean. So, the whole and because of the separation of, the plants and animals that then would move around the world in the Columbian Exchange, you don't even have a chance to create pizza until the 15th or 16th century. So it's a modern creation as well. So it is, it's that makes it a global creation, a modern creation. Its base is vegetarian, so it's a broad spectrum there of accessibility. And then if you talk about like Neapolitan classics, a marinara is vegan. So it's I was raised vegetarian. So for me, pizza was one of those things where, we could have a party and I would feel normal eating pizza,
What were you eating at those birthday parties?
Cheese pizza.
Where'd you grow up?
Austin, Texas.
Yeah, so you probably had the chains, right? And some local guys too.
We had the chains for sure. There was a local chain called Mr. Gaddy's that had really the best ranch. The ranch dressing in
my guy, we'll go there. Thank you.
My cookbook was that was like the starting point.
I'm from West Michigan, so ranch is in my blood.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then we had the Pizza Huts, and I don't really remember Domino's much as a kid, but I mean Pizza Hut was a big deal. But and then I had on my dad's side of the family, they were Sicilian, and so I had my great-grandmother and my grandmother making food, and one of the things they would make was they called it pizza, but it was like a sheet pan grandma style pizza.
It truly was the Nonna style.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, you have made a great
picture. He painted a picture about the margarita pizza and how it really did come together in the through all the world cuisines coming together. But I think in more of a modern terms, pizza is great because of the economic viability. It's a relatively affordable, though not always, food. It's great for catering. Let's get into like that. Like, why is pizza so popular in our modern society?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was before the pandemic, there was a saying that pizza is, recession proof because, when people are like tightening their belts, they'll still, when they splurge to go out or they get something takeout, pizza is going to be kind of top of that list. It's unlike something like a burger or, like pasta, you're probably not making pizza at home. You're probably not fermenting dough for 24, 48 hours. You may not have a pizza peel. It's a specialized thing. So, there's been a big movement with home pizza making and with the ovens, like all the backyard ovens and the electric ones.
And the wait lists and the flexing.
Yeah.
So much going on there.
Yeah. It's just something that is comforting and it delivers well. And it's shareable, and you don't need forks and knives. I don't know, man. I mean, it's pizza. It's great.
You painted a great picture. It's really great for catering.
Yeah, and it's like I'm of the age of someone who remembers the beginning of the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like cats and pizza. It's like a meme too.
Yeah, the cheese pull probably it predated social media. That was like big on the desktop internet.
I feel like by this time next year, like 1 in 4 Americans will be a pizza reviewer as well.
Oh, there's that whole game. We'll get into the media. Pizza media is a big business, and there's some really, we'll get into those guys. Let's talk about your consulting. I'm going to dip in and out of that work because it's really fascinating.
Sure.
Let's talk about what has been the most challenging place where you've traveled to, because I know you've got, and you write about in Pizzas Are, your book, about the foundation to make great pizza in many different styles. What's the most challenging place you had to like actually make pizza?
Well, I mean, I want to, everywhere I go and with all my clients, I want to make the best pizza, there. And I'm going to make, if we're in Michigan, I want to make the best pizza in Michigan.
I mean, it's already there, my dude.
Yeah.
There's no consultants needed.
I need to dive deep. Well, we'll see about that. See what happens.
You got somebody lined up for 24?
Hey, maybe.
All right.
But if I'm in Portugal, I want to make the best pizza in Portugal. So, there's always that. It's hard in the sense that it's like, there's a lot of moving components and I want it to be great. But where it really becomes challenging is, we can access everything here in the United States. And in New York specifically, I can get flour from Italy. I can get flour we produce incredible flour here in the United States. There's bakeries here that use flour from Canada. There's, you can get anything you want. That's not always the case from a logistical standpoint or even and from an economic standpoint. Yeah. So in a place like India, importing anything is going to be very difficult, or Argentina, because of the way the economy worked, and importing anything was going to be really difficult. So then you have to find local, and I'm always looking to try and find things locally, but
for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. But in Asia, there's not a big history of wheat, for bread. And in like Indonesia, you're not growing wheat anywhere.
Yeah, and also just getting the right type of cheese, right? If it's fresh buffalo, mozzarella, or if it's more of a blend, it's difficult.
Cheese is definitely a challenge. And there's the supply networks, for especially for like what I'm trying to do. So like, there's a global pizza network, right? The first wave of global pizza was American chain pizza. Okay. And then the Italians in the 80s were like, whoa, hey, dude, we invented this. Like, let's do our thing. And then you have, the Neapolitan style went global and they have their supply chain. And the Americans, they want to make the same thing everywhere they go. And they have, American flour, or they spec it. They have their cheese all comes from, essentially one producer that freezes it, sends it around the world, pepperoni, et cetera, same thing. Tomatoes they're sending there. And then the Italians are doing the same thing. They're sending Bufalo mozzarella. They're sending, Double O flour. They're sending San Marzano tomatoes all around the world. So if you want to do either one of those kind of pizzas,
Not as difficult as
not
you
as
would
difficult.
think. Yeah.
But if you want to do like artisanal pizza or you want to do New York style,
Mm-hmm.
in
Kuala Lumpur.
yeah, it's going to be challenging.
Yeah.
Especially because like New York style is like very much, dependent on high protein flour,
Yep.
which is a little harder to come by in some other countries.
Absolutely. And you've
And-
got the, just the bread, like the ovens are a little bit challenging too, I'd imagine, for New York style.
Yeah, I mean I'd say the Pizza Master, and the other electric ovens have really made that oven side of it easier.
Interesting. You're right. Because I don't think about it as like the more modern history, but yeah, Pizza Master and the electric ovens are just like killer right now.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought a Swedish company would like change the entire pizza game?
Are they still sending Baker's Prides overseas? Do people want that like classic New York style bread oven?
I haven't worked with them overseas. I've mostly worked with the Pizza Masters or some local, like in Taiwan. I was making pizza with a local electric oven. There's an oven called Salva from Spain, which I'm starting to work with more. I worked with it in Barcelona. It's a fantastic electric deck oven.
Back to my original question: is there just a location that was like particularly tricky to really work on, like a gig that just was challenging?
I think in Bangalore, India, that was probably the most challenging, but and it was a long time. I mean, it was years, and we started before the pandemic, and then we were put on pause because of the pandemic. My first initial testing there, I was trying to use, I was trying to test the flours, and there was like a local flour called Maida, which is like used for naan bread, very, 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 very low protein. So it was just really hard to get the product to work, and then. We were able to get our hands on some Double O imported flour, some Caputo, and it just, it wasn't going to be reliable.
Because it was just hard getting those bags. And the thing with flour and pizza is like you need a lot of it. It's not like a small amount. You need trucks of it to actually run a money making venture, right?
Yeah, and flour is perishable. A lot of people don't. I think your average American cook or home cook has some flour in the back of their cupboard from some unspecified date a long time ago. But good flour, has a shelf life, and so when you talk about something that was milled thousands of miles away and then transported, it can be
plus
so
climate, too.
Eventually found. A lot of what I do is research, and eventually I found a local flour company in there that just makes incredible products and freshly milled to order, like was economically viable. And I just absolutely, from there, it was great. We had the Buffalo mozzarella was not a problem.
Yeah, no. You can do that with UPS.
Yeah, well, we used local.
Oh, well, of course. You said that's where it started. It started
so there's
in South Asia. That's amazing.
And there's a Catholic priest in Bangalore who, in a monastery, makes mozzarella, and they call him Father Cheese. And he would deliver it.
What's the name of your client there? What's the name of the pizzeria?
It's called Thin Tony's.
Oh, right.
So my client's name is Nithin.
Yeah.
And I'm Tony. So Thin Tony. It's not because I'm thin, I guess, but it was very challenging, but it was also an incredibly, it was just an incredible experience, to work there and to spend that much time in India and to be able to explore the city a little bit.
Let's get into what the job entails as a pizza consultant.
Sure.
And I know you're not the only one, but you're definitely the most regarded and quote unquote famous one. How do you work with clients? Like do you have like a range of services available? Is it just like you hire me on retainer and I like show up and we riff? Like how's it working? Second question is, do you have like a staff? Are you like staffed up?
It's just me and my wife.
Yeah.
And we have, we've incorporated some other people like in bigger jobs, but it's really mostly just us.
It's a family business, right?
Yeah. And it's full service. So last night, it was, morning in Australia. And so we were going over the the kitchen plans. I mean, so there's a lot of iterations. They had come here a couple months before. We did a 4-day pizza tour, 4 states.
Oh, that's cool.
It was pretty epic.
That's cool.
Pretty epic. So when it comes time to talk about, my finger is on the pulse right now
we're gonna get into
for local
styles.
pizza.
Yeah, we'll get there. But so they hire you and they want to actually taste the best stuff.
Yeah. So we went around to get kind of like, not necessarily to be like, oh, I want to do this version of, but to be like, let's have a basis of vocabulary to talk about what we want to do. You know what I mean? Like, let's say I liked the look of this place. I liked the chew and the crunch of this place. I liked, that oven, and so we were able to go around to so many different styles, and, we really just dive deep into what they want to do. And then after that, we've been working a lot on, I've been doing a lot of research on product, what flours, what cheese, what tomatoes are
in
available.
Australia, available, and it's kind of matching up. Let me ask you: do they know what they want, or are they sometimes like listen, like what's the best? Like, what is the best? Meaning the best product or the best? If we can make the most money on the P&L. I mean, or are they just like, I know kind of what I want, and we're gonna taste through it.
And thank you for the kind words about our little consulting business we built. But if we've done a good job at it, it's because of picking the clients. And it's all about having someone who really has that passion to do a great project, and that they have the experience. So my client in Australia is an operator. They have multiple restaurants. They're pros. And working with pros, then we are able to move to the next level of okay, now we're diving deep into pizza, and then we're going to be working from here to there, so that when I do arrive, it's like we are now into the like heavy refining stage, the pizza theory stage of how
I love that. So they know how to like run a restaurant. They know a P&L. They know the costs. They know all the mistakes. And now it's like kind of figuring out the concept.
Yeah. And I will occasionally work with an amateur if they just are really just, it's like, look, I'm going to do this with or without you. And, and I'm just like, okay, I try to talk people out of it, like,
I mean, you charge those amateurs double. Let's just be real. You ain't charging them the same. Like, it's not worth your time.
I should, but it's rewarding in a different way. But, it's the restaurant business. It's like the best, worst business. I mean, it's very tough to make money. But there's hardly anything you can do for money that's more rewarding. I mean, when you cook something for someone that is, speaks to their something nostalgic in them, and they, people spend their birthdays with you, their anniversaries, they get a date night where they haven't had time alone in, months or whatever, when they have a kid, and they take these special moments of free time and their extra money to spend with you. It's like, I had to, I have to get insurance for my car, like that's not a choice.
No.
Like I have to spend that money. I'm not happy to fork over that, but I'm thinking about,
there's no memory made.
no, exactly. I don't even remember when I get pulled over. Where's the insurance? But I'm thinking already about where I want to eat, when my mom comes into town, or like, and where do I want to take people that are my friend? When am I going to meet up with a friend? Where are we going to meet up? We're going to meet up at a place to eat.
And a slice, if you're talking about a slice counter spot, you bridge, you're going, to the slice spot before a concert, but after work, it's something about that energy. It doesn't have to be just in New York, that just like catching a slice. It's like iconic. It's like just like living life, catching that slice.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, I was in Taiwan, last year or the year before, recently. And there's a slice shop there, young guy named Eric, and he had, visited the United States, and he had, I believe he went to school here, and he went back, and he's just like, man, there's no good slice shops. Like, let me open a slice shop, and his place is called Slice Shop. And
bad for Google, but good for branding, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And he does like sourdough slice pizza, and like I was, with my client, she's like, oh, we should check this place out. And I like was peeking my head in the window, and he saw me and he's like, like, dude, he's like, what are you doing in Taipei? Like, I had no idea you were here. He had my book.
So cool.
And we hung out all day, and like,
oh, cool.
He had the coolest thing. He had this like laser set up above his counter so that he, because like one of the big things with the slice shop is you want to have really equal size slices, and he set up like these 2 lasers so that he could put the pizza under there and then use the laser as a guide.
Yeah, totally. What a brilliant idea,
dude! I'd never seen anything like
the beams that. So you're just like cutting across the laser.
Yeah,
beams.
the beams were coming straight down and across on the table.
Dude,
it was very cool.
Link up, patent that. Go to the pizza show, sell like 10,000.
Right? Yeah, dude.
Pretty sick.
Yeah.
Do you work with private clients? Meaning, like Bezos is like, yo, Aspen, I need a backyard setup. I need like a full pizzeria in my house.
Yes.
There's probably 1,000 to 8,000 people in our world who would pay you that. Do you do that?
Yeah. Jeff, call me, bro.
Jeff has called you.
Yeah, no. But I've had some pretty very cool, high profile clients. I was in Ahmedabad, India. I had some clients fly me there to do like a birthday surprise pizza, like intensive class with the birthday boy. They had a full size wood oven in their house.
So cool.
And they had
not a simple house.
Yeah, and they had a New York style deck oven as well. And we went through all these different styles, and it was all vegetarian, which was cool.
Yeah.
And they were just the nicest people. I stay in touch with them every week. I get a message from the dad, like about like have a great week and
fun.
Just like really great people.
So you do a little bit of catering, but do you fabricate and help people build their like at-home pizzeria? I think Barbara Streisand has a mall in her basement.
Yeah,
Michael Jackson had like a water park. I'm sure there's somebody who wants a pizzeria in their house.
Yeah, I do that. I did a class this summer, and the whole family came out with me, and we all worked the class together. My boys are now old enough to really, be useful. And Frank is great front of house, and Roman is really, he's good on prep. In El Segundo, my buddy Tony Piombo, he and his dad Guy, they build ovens specifically for people's backyards in Napa, California. And they send the ovens all over the United States, but they do a lot in California and the West Coast. And there's a company called the Concrete Collective Kitchen, something like that. I keep messing up the name, but
yeah,
I did a class there, and they do custom backyard kitchens. Like where in California you can use it all year round. So I've done a few things where someone buys it, and then I go there and I help them kind of get their A game up, and then roll it into a private party, which is really fun, So it's like we'll do the prep together, which is like the class part, and then all their friends come over, and then we make the pizzas together, and then that's like the final exam, So
that must have been a cool experience.
It's fun, so private classes, I do stuff with some brands, and then that fills in between the consulting, but the consulting keeps me
imagine you're on the road a lot.
Pretty busy, yeah.
I want to pivot to talk about Roberta's.
Okay.
Where you came to work in 2008, soon after it opened. You weren't there like day one, but you were there very soon. This is a restaurant that arguably changed the entire category in America, this new Neapolitan pizza. And now, after we're talking post 15 years after Roberta's, you can find great Neapolitan in any city. There's where you got a blessing of riches. Let me ask you about those early days of Roberta's. I feel like it's not said enough that it was a slow start at Roberta's. This was not something that was like an instant hit. I think back by 2010, there were lines, and by 2015, Roberta's was everywhere. It was in the freezer section, et cetera, which you're part of. But let's talk about those very early days of Roberta's.
It was, like I said, very lucky. I stay in touch with a lot of people I worked with there, met some of the best people in my life. I had incredible times. We took it all over the country. We took it around the world. That was the first time I'd ever been to Brazil, was with Roberta's. First time I'd ever been to Toronto was with Roberta's. Ended up working in both of those places quite a bit. And, yes, it was very slow in the beginning. It was just,
Crazy to think.
Yeah, it was a little desolate over there.
Bushwick was different.
Yeah, I mean, it was there was a very much a neighborhood there. There was a history of Italian Americans in that neighborhood, and there was some old timers there that would come in, and they were really excited. And then there was people from living in the lofts, and then people living in the houses all around there. And but as far as like getting on the train to come out there, that did not happen at first. But it was like, I mean, I remember nights when, someone would just bring out a violin and they started playing in the middle of the restaurant, or like, someone would just light up a joint,
Yeah.
and the rest or set off fireworks inside, I mean, it was just like you could do anything you wanted out there. It wasn't like today when, there wasn't social media like per se, really. There was, I guess there was blogs, but there was no Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So like things just happened in the moment.
Definitely, and like media covered it and people read it. It wasn't like an instant media. Was there an early journalist who picked up on what
I think it was in 25 and under. That was an old column in the New York Times, and that's when it really, that's when it took off. But it was almost a year into that when, it was really just people from around the neighborhood, friends, a lot of us were ex-bartenders. And so, when you're a bartender, in New York, you got to hustle and get people to come. You got to have a lot of friends, acquaintances. So, we would get people to come in and hang out. And, it was just, and then it grew. It went from just the garage to the backyard to the radio station to the parties in the backyard to the Bushwick Block Party, which I had a lot to do with, which was really, really fun. There's some great video of that.
Great times
on the internet.
I love that period of Brooklyn in the early 2010s before the Tesla dealerships arrived and the German tourists. I feel like it was a time when there was real artist living, expensive. It was still New York, but it was, you could definitely like live there and have like an artist creative job. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like the story of New York. There's always some part of where it's like, oh, you should have been here 10 years ago, and it was really funny towards the end of my time at Roberta's when, someone who'd only been there for like a couple years, when I was like almost like 7, almost 8 years in, and, you would hear someone be like, "Oh yeah, you weren't here when and I'm like, "Bro, you barely just got here."
I love that. It's always like always a push and pull from the old and new generation.
Yeah, but it was great, and I think like going, doing a lot of representing the pizza brand, being like, someone who took it on the road, like took it to Austin, my hometown, to do South by Southwest. To take it on the road and to introduce people to that brand really kind of prepared me for, what I do now. And, for that time, I was trying to create the same thing everywhere we went. And now I'm trying to always do something different everywhere I go.
Let me ask you, Anthony, about when you were early days at Roberta's, let's talk about the pizza. Like what made the pizza so unique, so important in food media, but also for New Yorkers? Like what caused us to wait in those lines and have those drinks and be kind of tanked by the time we actually were able to eat the pizza, which was kind of the joy of going to Roberta's. You had like 4 glasses of rosé and you're like, oh shit, I gotta eat now.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the pizza that you're making.
I mean, it really started with just like what I think is still just a great philosophy of like, we're going to use the best ingredients, whether that means local or imported. We're not going to say what we're going to do. We're just going to do it.
Is that Carlo doing that? Is that you doing that?
I mean, for me, I didn't, I worked with Chris and Brandon on the pizza side.
Yeah.
Carlo did his own thing, and that food just got better and better.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it was physically separate, and it was, kind of separate departments.
Got it.
I mean, I think it was a lot of Chris's vision. He was a real like genius in a lot of like spotting the trend ahead of the curve. And just like using great producers like Be Lazy, and then Patrick from Heritage Foods being next door and using his products, and then using like local flour, but doing it in that Italian oven. And then, having people from Italy involved in the very beginning who, Mauro and like his kind of tutelage of, okay, I guess we'll do this, but it's, just so you know, this is totally, we're breaking all the rules here. And, it was this idea that you can use Neapolitan pizza as a like a format, a structure, but it's not like we're not trying to do exactly what they do in Naples.
And it's, you hit it on the head. It is exactly why we love American style Neapolitan. It's an expression of new American cuisine. You mentioned Patrick Martin's, who I think is such a link between so many of these early Brooklyn restaurants and bringing in incredible products. I love that you mentioned his name. And pizza is a great format to express creativity, which you and your team did.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about Alice Waters and Paul Bertoli and Chris Bianco, and the whole idea with that. It's not new what was happening, right? The whole idea was like, great olive oil, great salt, good products, and try not to overthink it, and like just try to have a relationship with the seasons, but at the same time, like, there's no sign outside that says everything comes within 100 miles. And, it's, I would love hearing like someone who's like, was, taking their parents there who were like lived at the loft across the street or something. And they're like, they grow all their own vegetables on the roof. And it's like, goodness. Bro, do you know the size of the roof we would need?
Yeah. It's really funny when people get into that. That's a trap.
Yeah. But and it was just, there was no eyeballs on it in the very beginning. And I think that was also really special. So
do you still eat at Roberta's in Brooklyn or LA or the other cities that Roberta's is in?
No.
Yeah?
No.
Does that make you sad?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll look on Resy, see if there's anything.
I love it. I thank you for sharing about Roberta's. I couldn't let it pass because you're a big part of that brand and making it work. Let's pivot. This is the part of the interview, the portion of the program where you and I talk about regional pizza styles. Because Anthony, you have traveled, you know what's going on. We're gonna start with my beloved Midwest. I'm just gonna ask you straight up. We're going here. Detroit Pan versus Chicago Tavern.
Wow. Man, I have a lot of thoughts about Midwest pizza culture, but not a lot of experience. So.
Fair. And thank you for being honest.
Yeah.
Let's please go to Detroit, you and I.
Let's go. So like a big thing that informs everything that I do, is history. Like if I'm not working on a project or reading about something that is specific to what I'm working on, I'm reading nonfiction history. I'm listening to the history podcast. That's what I'm mostly into. When I'm going to a new country, I dive deep on their Wikipedia or try to find history books about that specific country. So I have some, reference and understanding of the cultural signpost as I pull in. So when I think of Detroit style pizza, I think of it in the context of, global pizza history, right? So I remember trying to explain Detroit style pizza to a room full of Brazilians and Italians. So this was my partners in Brazil, and we have a chain of pizzerias called Bras Electrica, and then the like sister company, the original pizzeria is called Bras, and they do traditional Brazilian pizza. Now, just like we have New York style pizza, they have Sao Paulo has, Paulistano style pizza, and they have a 100-year-old tradition.
Wow,
and
that's amazing. Holy cow.
They call themselves the pizza capital of the world.
Respect.
They have a strong case for that. And their pizza culture is actually quite a bit closer to, true Neapolitan pizza than New York style, which they do not understand. And so when we were talking about pizza trends, and I was talking about, yes, New York is becoming more represented globally. Also look out for, this was a few years ago, I was like, look out for Detroit style pizza coming. And this Italian guy was like, well, how big is the crust? And I was like, well, it's about 2 inches thick. He's like, no, but on like the edge, like the cornicione, the crust. I was like, well, it's the same. He's like, no, but I mean like, not the outside, the middle. And I'm like, it's the same all the way through. Like, I'm like, and he's like, why don't you, and like he's like, is it a language thing? And I'm just like, we're starting to yell at each other. And finally, I draw like a diagram, and he's like, oh, it's not pizza, it's focaccia.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is a distinction that is serious, you know, like, and I did a Detroit style pizza concept in Barcelona, and we had a lot of Italians on staff, you know, and I would put it in front of them and be like, they would be looking at me like, what is happening?
What is this shit?
Yeah, exactly. And I would be like, look, this isn't pizza. I know it's not pizza. All right. It's focaccia with pizza toppings. And they're like, oh, okay, cool.
With a little bit of frico in there, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Add the frico crust, too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, if you paint it that way, but like words have meaning, you know, especially in Italy. So like when I think of Detroit style pizza, I think of it as in the context of in American pizza world, anything that has sauce and cheese on it can be pizza. You know, we have pizza bagels, we have like pizza sushi, like anything can be sushi, anything can be pizza.
Yeah.
You know, like this is America. So when I think of Detroit style pizza, I think of it in the context of that. Okay, it's very much, you know, part of our open-minded pizza culture, and it is part of the American tradition of regional Italians, immigrants coming here and then saying, look, you guys like this thing from our culture, but I don't know anything about it because we're from Sicily. You know, we've never heard the word pizza before. Like my great-grandparents, they had never heard the word pizza. The thing that they made that they gave us that they called pizza, they called it faccia di vecchia, you know, or sfincione. So Detroit-style pizza is essentially, in post-war America, everyone wants pizza. It would be like the equivalent of like birria today. And so like,
great example. I love that example.
That's
modern. Yeah. Area is experiencing a similar thing.
And like maybe you're from, you know, like, you know, a different part. Maybe you're from Mexico City, which didn't really have birria tradition. And you're like, well, I'm just, you know, whatever. I'm trying to make money. I'll do
what's on the internet. Yeah.
So like, that's what Detroit is. You have Sicilians. They're like, okay, people want pizza. I'll make you pizza. I know how to make pizza. And they make their tradition, which is like, you know, either sfincione or something like that. So
it's a good way to dodge the question. Appreciate that. Anyways, let's head east. I wanna ask you, just looking at the East Coast, like the east, the seaboard. Is there a region on the East Coast that has pizza that we are ignoring, that we maybe don't think about as being great pizza?
Well, you're not gonna like this answer either.
Yeah, you do have a consulting business. You don't want to offend anyone. You're a global. No,
I just think there's like this desire amongst you know, pizza people who write about pizza or people who review pizza to like discover something that's not there.
I know it's a bad instinct,
but you know, I think that it's, you know, I mean, I think we're aware of what we have. What we have is great. You know, I mean, in this region here, you know, you have New York style, and I would start that with the first wave, you know, of like Titano's, which I went to recently, which is holding up incredibly.
What about Lombardi's? Do you package that in there?
I wouldn't put Lombardi's in the conversation.
Great, agree.
Agree fully. Yeah, it's a brand that was revived and then, you know, basically invented on the spot.
It's for the tourists.
In the 90s. Yeah. But, you know, like I think I would put Giuliana's in there, you know, which is tangentially connected.
It's like a cousin. It's in Dumbo. Sure. Yeah.
Patsy's is in that, you know, first wave. So those I would consider, you know, but New York is just, the problem with anything historical in New York is that we're only seeing what's left. You know, everything has been churned so much. So many places have closed. John's Bleecker. There you go. That's a first wave.
Yeah. L&B?
No. You know, I don't.
Middle.
That would be, I guess, like that. So I'm like pre-slice culture.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I'm talking about like that. Like we're talking first wave, like, you know, and then if we look at that as like things kind of shoot off of that, right? So then you have in New Haven, you know, their first wave kind of stuck around a little more because it's not New York City. It didn't get, it wasn't like a constant change. And, it kind of, immigrants came, they moved there. There was like, what did they do in New Haven? It was like gun manufacturing. Like there was like.
I mean, up in like Norwalk, there's like a lot of shipbuilding.
Yeah,
World
exactly.
War II, yeah.
But then it was like the industrialization kind of slowed. And then, it's like trapped in time, right? And then you have Trenton, the tomato pies. I think De Lorenzo's is amazing. A lot of them moved to like Robbinsville, your old like original Trenton downtown is like not, I don't think is much of a thing.
Not quite yet. What about mustard pie?
Yeah,
it's more like a micro.
I only have so much room in my stomach.
Yeah, it's a micro theme there.
Yeah,
shout out to Jason Diamond. He's a big mustard pie fan.
Sure, it's great. I'm sure it's awesome. I have put mustard on a pizza. I did like a Cuban pizza. It was good.
Yeah, fair enough.
For a stunt pizza. So those are the things that I think like that I find really interesting to me because it's also like kind of you're looking back into like, well, what was like Neapolitan pizza like? Because there's a direct connection to the original Neapolitan immigrants, and what was it was like a lot of these were like bakeries, that sold pizza because it became popular,
which is the Baker's Pride connection. A bakery bread oven is it connected to New York style?
Was it like when I think of Baker's Pride ovens, it was Frank Mastro, right? Who invented the gas oven. Yeah. I think of that as kind of like the way I think of like Rockbox or Uni.
Interesting.
It was like a guy.
It was like a brand.
The guy had an idea and he's like, "Hey, you got this giant oven that takes up like half of your restaurant. Like I have this, newfangled tiny box that can fit."
Yeah, let's sidebar on that sometime. I feel it's a cool like let's. I'm sure it's been written about.
I mean, and what really the interesting thing there is then it changes the dough, right?
Yeah.
So because without any radiant heat to get color on the dough, then you start having to add sugar and you start having to add diastatic malt powder or milk powder,
which crystallizes the New York City slice for some.
Because when that's what that sugar, that the malt, both of those things kind of give it that unique flavor and texture because it's in a dark oven. It's in this like gas oven with no. But now you have with the electric ovens, you have the radiant heat back again.
Yeah.
So
and you're getting a very different style of service. You're getting a different like speed is different, right?
Yeah, and then to go back to Roberta's is like what the oven is the number one determining factor of like what makes a pizza. And because, you take the same dough and you put it in multiple ovens, it's going to come out very differently.
Very much so.
So I think that was just the people falling in love with like a wood-fired oven, really. And that was like, and personally for me, I could cook in a wood-fired oven for the rest of my life.
Right.
Like, I think it's magical.
Yeah. just getting to the right temperature, just the building of the fire is something that is very cathartic, I'm sure.
It's so cool.
Yeah. It's cool. It's a better word. It's actually cool.
Yeah.
It's
cool
very
to cook
cool. With wood.
And it's like, from an operator perspective, it's like I've never driven a Lamborghini, but I use this reference all the time. But it's like a manual transmission sports car like Lamborghini. Like if you want to go fast and you know what you're doing, you are going to be in for a treat.
Yeah.
But if you're like, running errands or, whatever, like the electric ovens are more like a Tesla. It's great.
Yeah.
It gets you where you need to go, but, it's not super sexy and anyone can use it.
But we as a culture, we love Neapolitan pie because of that leoparding of the crust. We love the speed of it. We love these amazing vessels that are in these restaurants with like initials on them, with art on them.
Yeah, and the smell when you walk into people like food writers often talk about like the smoky flavor of there's no actual smoke.
Absolutely correction.
In
You've set the record straight. Bad trope to say something tastes smoky. It's not fucking tasty.
You know how barbecue works.
Yeah, exactly. It takes like
takes
18 hours.
Yeah, exactly. and at low temperature where there's a higher amount of particulate matter, which is going to actually bind to the fats, where none of that is happening in a pizza oven. It's 60 seconds, 90 seconds.
We have our smells and those inform our taste.
And the smell binds to your, taste buds and then you're getting this. But that is, I remember leaving work and smelling like a campfire and just thinking it was awesome. It was like, this cologne is great.
Okay, let's just go there. Favorite NYC slice.
let's go. Or we can podium it, or we can Mount Rushmore it.
That's a difficult question. I want to ask you what your favorite New York slice is because I feel like it's.
You want to riff? Let's riff.
Yeah, I want to hear yours first.
I'll tell you two.
Okay.
Two come to mind.
Okay.
It's not about me. It's about you. F&F.
Okay.
Love the dough. Love what they do there.
I love the Franks.
I love the Franks. And then L&B.
Okay.
I said on record, people know me. So
Okay.
L&B, just because I think it's just a complete package. The sauce, the way, the texture, the artistry. Well, it's not really artistry, but the pageantry of going there in Brooklyn. And I love that sauce. That's me. You, Anthony, step it up.
I mean, I think, a lot of the pizza nerds right now who really follow fermentation, all this, L'Industria is like, they've got to be in the conversation for number one. But I think for, in the last few pizza tours that I've done, the ones that have stood out to me is Manos in Ridgewood. It's a new kind
Never heard of it.
One-man operation.
Wow.
Nicholas Manapella. And he is just living his pizza dream, and he's making every pie, and it is a just awesome. I took a tour and we stopped there at our first stop, and everyone was like, "What is this place? I've never heard of it." And he deserves recognition.
So smart to lead strong. Everyone knows lead strong. Good job.
Yeah, and then Weeded. I've only gone a couple times now, and both times I just was blown away.
Love those. And I'm going to say my third is a client of yours, so credit to you, Anthony, is definitely Upside.
Well, I would always put them number one, but then I felt like I'd kind of like,
These aren't clients of yours, the other two.
No.
I love
I
Upside.
try not to recommend clients first, but I mean, Upside has to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
Noam is like one of my favorite clients. I just saw him the other day. He's, I always stop in and see him when I'm in town.
Yeah, Noam Grossman's going to be on the show later this week, and Upside is definitely my favorite slice in New York. I think F&F for me, just as a full pie and just like the way they're doing toppings, is probably really, really, really close as well.
Their ingredients that they
Exactly.
use, it's really hard to I mean, if that is part of your equation, F&F has to be in the conversation. Incredible ingredients. I think Lucia Avenue X, which now they're on Canal Street, so you don't have to go to Avenue X anymore. Really great classic slice. I mean, I'm always been a fan of Scar and what he does with flour and all that. And I just went to the new one for the first time recently. But when his Sicilian is on point, it's probably one of the best.
I agree. I love the Sicilian there. I also love the Sicilian at F&F too. I can't forget to shout that out. They're just the bread there. But I think what Upside and what Scars has done has obviously linked youth culture, street culture, a little bit of hip hop, a little bit of New York City downtown culture. And that's a big part of when we think about pizza. It's about entering the shop, having a moment, having an experience. I think those two, you really got to give them credit.
I mean, it's like you can't separate, New York City from pizza.
Yep.
And when was the last time you watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2?
Oh,
The Secret of the Ooze.
I need to.
It's been a while. Do yourself a favor. Been a minute, huh? Do yourself a favor. Bring that one up for the holidays. The opening sequence is, I'm just so happy that someone captured this in film because it is the most awesome, film sequence of just it's like a montage of like an 80s 90s New York montage of people walking down the street.
God.
It's that, but then it gets more and more ridiculous where everyone is eating pizza everywhere. Like rich people in limousines, like people in a horse carriage going through Central Park, like everyone's just there's like a traffic light and like every single person on the corner is eating a slice of pizza.
I love it.
And it's like it's making a statement. I mean, Home Alone 2 also.
Baby Boom too. I got to shout out the opening sequence of Baby Boom is pretty fucking epic too. 1987 film.
Baby Boom.
Yeah.
Oh, what is Baby Boom?
Baby Boom is Diane Keaton.
Oh, where she goes upstate?
She starts a boutique jam company
yes,
upstate.
baby food upstate.
Or baby food.
Yeah.
Right. Good
okay.
correction. Yeah.
Is there a pizza sequence in that?
There's definitely a slice in the opening montage. Absolutely check it out.
Okay, this is
it's not like Lost in New York. It's not like that, but it definitely has.
That is a good movie.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
It's good.
I have not seen that. My wife is gonna.
It's really, it really holds up. Man, we could go in New York. I want to have you back. We're going to do this. This has just been such a delight to have you. What surprises you about pizza?
I mean, when someone is, doing it on such a level that it surprises me how much more I have to learn. When you have a slice of pizza, and you're just like, damn, like how they do. A lot of places I go and I'm like, okay, I know what they're doing here.
Yeah.
There's some places when you go and you're just like, oh, wow, like I need to go back and
is it like set up at the restaurant? Is it like the oven placement? Is it doing something new with pineapple? I don't know, like what? Just get some details of
it's fermentation.
Yeah,
I mean, like that's the hard part is the dough. Which is
cool.
I think I was listening to your podcast you did with Maurizio, and his website. I mean, it's just endless, and it takes that kind of mind to really get deep into that, like bread fermentation.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then for me, like doing all these different styles, like starting in Neapolitan, neo-Neapolitan, and then going into New York, and then Sicilian, and then doing like Roman. It's like it's challenging, I mean, I think that's what surprises me is just how like little I've actually like mastered at this point.
Yeah.
15.
I love that you're humble. I appreciate that. And thank you for shouting out Mauricio Leo, The Perfect Loaf. And we're actually working on a trip for October, November to Puglia and Naples, and we're gonna hit some pizzeria.
Nice. I'm doing a trip too. I should probably.
You do Modern Adventure. I saw that.
Yeah, I'm doing a Modern Adventures to Rome and Sicily.
Yeah, I love that. You do Modern Adventure. We do ATA. Similar culinary trips. They're really fun. Tell me about yours.
We are gonna go to Rome, which is and I'm going actually in February with my family to do a little scouting. Rome is just one of my favorite cities because again, I'm a history nerd. So it's just like I geek out on the history side of it. And then it's just a great restaurant city for Italy. Italy is not always a great restaurant culture. I think the real soul of Italian food is in the home, like casalinga, like housewife, people cooking at home. But Rome has great restaurants.
Yeah, it's a great restaurant city. I mean, I went to Bonci in Chicago.
Okay,
it's really good.
Nice.
I haven't been back to Rome in a few years though. Do you have like 3 spots in Rome that you like to go for pizza?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Roscioli, the Forno, and get the pizza al pala. It's awesome. Get a mortazza. It's fucking great. Perfect breakfast. 180 grammi in Cintocelli. Little outside of town, very cool. I would call it like it's basically like the Roberta's of Roman pizza. It's like outside of town. It's more like locals, and they're breaking the rules and doing fun stuff, but they're referencing Roman cuisine and like just awesome stuff. And then, I think, Bonci.
Pizzarium,
Yeah, Pizzarium, for sure.
For sure.
You got to.
Have you been to 50 Calo in Naples?
No, I have not been to Naples since I started making pizza. It's been 20-something years since I've been in Naples.
Oh, my God. Magazine editors listening to this, book this story.
Yeah.
This needs to be, like, in print. You going to Naples, pitch this story, writers. Do this.
Come meet me in February because we're taking the kids for midwinter break, and we're going to go to Rome, and then we're going to take the train to Naples, and we're going to do like 2 or 3 days in Naples.
Oh my gosh.
And I worked on a project in Hong Kong with a chef from Naples. Roberta is her name, actually.
Cool.
And she's an incredible pizza chef. So I'm going to get all the inside recs from the locals, and I'm super excited about it.
Sounds like a fun trip. And speaking of travel, I was coincidentally, in Phoenix this past weekend, and I went to Bianco.
Great.
And I really wanted to go there to try Chris Bianco's pizza. And I think it's excellent. It's amazing pizza. I would not wait in line 3 hours for it because I wouldn't wait in line 3 hours for anything. But I wonder, my thought is this. It's a great pizza, like hands down. I have to say, we mentioned some pizzerias in New York. It's kind of on the level of a lot of places I try in New York and places I've had honestly in like Detroit, even in Chicago. We're talking about Neapolitan, of course, not not the other types. But what's your take on Chris Bianco, what it's meant, and maybe this idea that, there's just great pizza everywhere. We don't need to go to Phoenix to get the pizza.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a story that is essentially, the number one pizza in America is in Phoenix. It's a really it's a man bite dog story, right? And it's like, do you know where to get the best pizza in America? In Phoenix, Arizona.
It's 130 degrees inside and out. Yeah.
But I think it didn't happen for no reason. And I think his philosophy we talked about a lot, in the early days, and it's informed my philosophy. The idea of using, he talks about his pistachio pizza, and he's like, I got pistachios everywhere, so I'm going to make a pistachio pizza. It's like he's in the desert, and it's like there's great wheat. There's incredible wheat growing there, so he's using locally, the wheat from around the region, and and he's cooking that wood-fired pizza, but at a lower temperature. I mean, it's like he is so responsible for so many of what, my generation of pizza makers are doing. And he's, we all look up to him, and his, I love listening to him talk. It's like, he's a great guy, and he's been very supportive of me. And, he's just a really great guy.
Absolutely. I can't wait to have him on the show. He's not going to be on Pizza Week, but we'll definitely have him on the show. And I agree. It was a great narrative for a lot of people, beard voters, for journalists, and amazing that he was able to create this ecosystem and get on Netflix, all that stuff.
Yeah. And I just think the truth of the matter is when you talk about the best pizza in the world or the best pizza in America, I mean, the top 50 are going to be, it's subjective at that point. I mean, it's like you could talk about a place objectively using high quality ingredients. I mean, a lot of the pizza, if I go outside of this door, there's going to be 4 or 5 pizza places.
Well, I work here, I would say maybe 2.
Yeah. But there's a good amount of them that are using flour that's illegal in Brazil or illegal in Europe or China. Or, so they don't even count for me. I mean, it just, you have to be to all these places that we talked about earlier are using great ingredients. And then and Chris is one of the guys who really was like, look, I know it's just pizza, but let's treat it with some respect and use great ingredients,
Oh my God. Yeah. Well said. I'm going to have to wrap this up because honestly, we're going to do a part 2. We'll have you back.
Sweet.
I want to talk about your Pizza Czar, your book.
Okay.
But briefly, are you going to work on another book? Because I really love this book, and I want to I'm going to link to the show notes. You got to check out this book. It has a lot of color. You're a great illustrator too, which we'll talk about in part 2 later on next year. Do you want to do another book?
Yeah, I do. Last night was working on I've been working on 2 book pitches.
Cool. Great.
One of them is going to be more broadly Italian American. There's going to be obviously a big pizza section in there. I don't in Pizza Czar really have what I would call an actual New York style pizza recipe, and that's something that I've been working on a lot lately. So that's going to be kind of the lead recipe, but there's going to be a lot more pasta. I was writing a whole kind of treatise on chicken parms and the parm world of parms.
Yeah.
So did you know, for instance, that if you go to Italy, the only real Parmigiana is eggplant.
100%.
Right.
We've gone over this on the show. I can't remember which
so
guest,
you know,
but yeah.
So you know that.
Absolutely.
But did you know that if you go to Buenos Aires or you go to Sao Paulo, they have a huge Parmigiana culture, but it's with beef.
Yes.
Yeah. So they have the filet Parmigiana, and they go crazy for it. And that chicken Parmesan is a uniquely American
completely Italian American dish. And we
Yeah.
have chicken obviously out of everywhere. So we love chicken.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of break that down, and then how it all kind of then also goes back to cotoletta and schnitzel, and then that's where chicken fried steak comes in, and then what happens when you chicken fried steak and tonkatsu?
My friend, you've got a cutlet book in you. And I feel
there's going to be a big cutlet chapter.
It's a cutlet universe for you. I love it. I love your writing. I hope to read more of your books and have you back on and talk about them.
Yeah. And then I want to do another book that's more of a history book, an amateur historian book called The History of the World Through Pizza, where I start in Göbekli Tepe and talk about wheat and how it basically, what came first, human civilization or agriculture and how there's actually a big debate there.
That's like the lean back Kindle book that you're that you're
exactly. Which who knows if someone will actually pay me to do that book, but
Hey,
I think about it a lot.
Editors are listening to the show. We have plenty of industry people, so yeah, it sounds really unique. And then also before I get to the final section, you're doing a muffalata pop up, which is not pizza.
Yeah,
You're down with muffalata, a famous New Orleans dish. Why are you interested in muffaladas?
so all the Falcos and Salvados and Cangelosis and all the in my family that came to America, they came through New Orleans, and so that is the most famous. There's not a historical pizza culture in New Orleans because they were Sicilians. They didn't really know what pizza was, but they did. They did start restaurants, and they started things like Progresso Foods. Some of them became jazz musicians, but some of them started a sandwich called muffaletta. Now, muffaletta in Sicily is just the name of the bread. And it's usually
the shape, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, and then they'll stuff it with just very simply maybe olives and anchovies and olive oil, like poverty food, right? But, just like a lot of Italian American food, they get here, they have money, they can afford meat now, and so they, abundanza, they go overboard.
Yeah.
And a muffaletta is exactly that. So it's an olive tapenade, giardinara. It's usually like 3 kinds of meats. I'm using I'm working with Framani, and they're sponsoring. Nice. They're great.
Oh,
great,
right on.
Great,
sponsor.
Great sponsor. And they are doing, they're sending us the salami rosa, which is awesome, and spicy capicola, and the mortadella. And so,
that's your combo.
Yeah. And it's like
so good.
2 parts mortadella to 1 part capicola and salami rosa. And then I do some pickled onions, I do Parmigiano Reggiano, and I do a little vinegar, a little black pepper, and then some pistachio powder on there. And,
fun to have that. So this is just like for fun. It's like a little bit of a holiday pop-up.
I do it just so I can have 1 slice of it, and I love doing it. And I have these pans, these round 12-inch round pans, and it's in my book, Pizza Czar, there's the Sicilian grandma recipe, and it's great for Sicilian pizza. It's great for Detroit, but it also just makes a great focaccia. And so you throw sesame seeds on that, bake it. I fresh bake the bread. It's all naturally leavened, and I use really good flour. And
how many loaves are you baking?
Like 30. I'll hand mix a batch of
wow,
20 kilos.
Where do you bake out of? Do you have like some commissary or something?
Well, that's the cool thing about these pop-ups is I can do it anywhere. Like just a convection oven. Yeah. I can use a Breville toaster oven, like it just, cause it bakes at like 475 low temperature, And so I'm doing it at my friend's restaurant, Club, in McCarran Park, and he has just like a convection oven and then a meat slicer. That's all I need to do the muffaletta pop-up. And I'm going to make some fresh mozzarella and layer that in there.
I hope to make it to one.
Yeah, sure.
All right, Anthony. On This Is Taste, we ask guests about their discerning taste. So to close this interview, here's a little rapid-fire Fast and Furious taste check. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do this.
The best breakfast food.
All right, it's gonna have to be 2. 1 breakfast taco, and if I'm in Austin, I'm going to Veracruz All Natural
for sure,
and I'm getting Migas Poblano. And
love it.
The number 2, I have to do a global shout out here. That's the home breakfast.
Yeah.
I was blown away by the breakfast culture in Taipei, and they do something called dambing, which is like a scallion pancake, and then with an egg inside. Yeah. And there was this one place I went to, and it was like, and they have like hot sauce, and it was basically like a Taiwanese breakfast taco. It was awesome.
Sounds amazing.
And then you get fresh, warm soy milk with it.
Oh, yeah, that's the key. Oh, I love fresh soy milk. The best dessert?
Affogato.
Favorite American fast food chain?
How many locations can
let's say over 10.
Okay. I mean, I grew up very, very hippie. We would not really do fast food, so I guess I have to go with In-N-Out.
Fair. No Burger King crown in your past?
I ate there once, and I was a bit horrified.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. Okay, your favorite American fast food pizza chain?
Okay, you're going to love this one, Jets.
Oh, sick. I love it. It's a good call. It really is my favorite.
It's also
Buddies
like
Jets,
the closest thing you can get to like old school Pizza Hut pan pizza, because Pizza Hut is atrocious now.
It's really, really bad now. And I was a Book It fan, obviously a big reader, work at Penguin Random House, and I got like a bunch of free pan pizzas. Back in the 80s, that shit was good.
Yeah, well, I have a whole chapter in Pizzas Are about and I reverse engineer the old school recipe called the butter crust pan pizza.
Oh my God, that's right. That's back from like the 90s.
Yeah, dude.
Man.
It's a time machine.
The Land Before Time promo, do you remember that?
Dude, Land Before
Little
Time, of
puppets
course.
they used to
I
give
had
out?
the little guy.
Those- God, I love those puppets. I had like 3 of them. That's how much Pizza Hut I ate at. Oh man. Let me ask you, are you for hire to like rethink Pizza Hut?
They actually reached out to me. I'm not gonna lie to you. They reached Pizza Hut. Someone from Pizza Hut reached out to me, and I sent him my rates, and I didn't hear back from him. So, like, I need you. Like, it's the biggest companies tend to be the cheapest. So
100. They don't need you, right?
They kind of, I feel like they understand because they revamped the look to make it look like old Pizza Hut.
They did.
But I don't think they have the intestinal fortitude to actually change their like recipes back to the like real ingredients.
Oh,
You know,
do you remember the Bigfoot pizza at Pizza Hut?
I never. That was about when I started checking out. You know,
Yeah, they had a different cheese. Listeners like write in. They had a different cheese. It was really good.
that wasn't Little Caesars. What was
No,
their
no.
big one.
I mean, that was the one I grew up eating.
Okay, the
being in
Bigfoot.
Michigan. No, Bigfoot was definitely a Pizza Hut pizza.
Okay.
but it was like it was oblong. It looked kind of like a Roman style like shape, but they had a different cheese. And the Wikipedia, I can't remember, has like information about this one, about the types of cheese they were using. They were using a very different, anyways.
That's the innovative American pizza mind that the European can't comprehend.
But like this business is so big here. Look at the Super Bowl ads. There's still lots of pizza on Super Bowl ads.
Yeah, there's logistical issues. You know what's interesting is I did a project in Guyana, Georgetown, Guyana, and it was a very high-end Neapolitan restaurant with pasta, and it's great. Really,
What's it called?
It's called Amici.
Cool.
Really great clients, but they operated, and they still operate the Pizza Hut franchise there. And because there's no way to do the cold chain, so they can't send the frozen stuff. They do it the old school way where they make all the dough fresh in-house. And it was kind of banging.
Like to the letter,
Yeah.
the way that the Pizza Hut corporate wants it, but they don't have to make it all in like Sioux Falls and ship it, to
Yeah,
French.
and they were making it like they had to fall back on the old SOPs,
Yeah.
And I was digging it.
I love that. Right about
So
that.
if you're in Georgetown,
Yeah,
Guyana.
sick. All right, a couple more. Your favorite thing to drink with pizza?
I mean, I think like the first thing that comes to my mind is an ice cold Coca-Cola in a glass bottle. And I think like if you go to Naples, that's like the traditional pairing is a Coca-Cola. But if I'm gonna get fancy, it's gonna be like a natural risotto. Like
It's nice.
Yeah,
Having a light risotto. Yeah.
Yeah, something nice little rosé, some with some acidity to hold up and to like go against the fat of all the pizza.
Do you believe in Lambrusco with pizza?
That's more of
Push back. We wrote an article about that. I'd love to hear your take.
like that's like 2008 Roberta's. It's like what pizza, like what should we pair with this? Oh, Lambrusco. It's a little. I think it's a
It's a dated trope. I get it.
yeah, but I don't think it makes sense.
Isn't beer bad with pizza?
I never got into beer and pizza.
I never got it either. I never got it. I felt the bitterness actually was what the biggest problem with carbonation. Fine, we love Coke with pizza, but the bitterness just like blow your palate out.
Also, just like the bloatedness,
Truths.
like just like it's like beer and ramen. Like it seems like a good idea, and then you're dying once the
Yeah.
noodles start to expand.
It's a bit much. Last one, your favorite sandwich?
I mean, I gotta go muffaletta, right?
Well, we covered that.
Okay,
We
all right.
yeah.
So, then it's gonna be just mortazza,
Yeah.
just like a nice pizza bianca with this just mortadella and literally nothing else.
That's it. Anthony Falco, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining this taste.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you for having me.
This is Taste is hosted by Eliza Abarbanel and me, Matt Rodbard. The show is produced by Shalia Harris and Pat Stango and edited by Clayton Gumbert. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter for updates on all cool things that are happening.